motherfucker. Shove that in your ass, you little bitch.
Sir, I just got punched in the back of the head.
So guys, there's a lot of information going around, and even I'm getting mixed up as it relates to some of these hangings. I'm going to consolidate all the information here for you. Starting with the first two that happened on May 1st and June 6th. On the left is Robert Fuller, on the right is Malcolm Marsh. Both of these men were hung in front of public office buildings, no cameras, and police had already written them off originally as suicides. Moving on. Next, we have Dom Alexander, same MO. Medical examiners are calling this a suicide too. Autopsy has yet to be done. So the fourth victim was a Hispanic man. The hanging was found on 2500 Ella Boulevard. It's a four-way intersection that's very busy. Police officers found them 9 a.m. this morning. So victims number 5 and 6 are actually my fault. I got my details mixed up. Above me pictured is Oluwatoyin Salu. She was a prominent BLM protester that was found killed in front of a government building with another person named Victoria Sims, but both of those people were not hanged. So guys, there's
The way that the police officers in Wellington, Florida have been handling our peaceful Black Lives Matter protests is absolutely disgusting. Look at all of these officers. There are SWAT vehicles, there are buses, there are tons of officers out there. They even infiltrated us with 2 undercover officers. All of that for this small, peaceful group of protesters. Look, they even had to shut down some lanes because we were on the sidewalk, I guess. Meanwhile, the next day, there was a Trump protest in the same area. There are dozens and dozens of boats. Like, this shit is literally a flotilla. And yet, there's not a single police officer in sight. No one in riot gear. And I think what's most frustrating is that our peaceful group tried to march on Mar-a-Lago the previous week, and we were met with police officers in riot gear. Yet this boat group was allowed to boat right on up to Mar-a-Lago yesterday. This is absolutely disgusting.
I get this question so much that it's finally time to make a video on it. So here are 50 racist laws from 50 racist states. Yes, they're all active today. First up is Alabama with section 256 of their very state constitution. Separate schools shall be provided for white and colored children, and no child of either race shall be permitted to attend a school of the other race. This is still in there today. Next up is Alaska with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. This law allows oil and gas companies to explore and develop 1.5 million acres of the ANWR, stealing land and livelihood from the natives. Number 3 is Arizona with Support Our Law Enforcement and Safe Neighborhoods Act. This law allows police to stop and question anyone who looks like an illegal immigrant. This means that any police officer with a racial prejudice can harass anyone that they want unchecked. A similar law exists in Alabama called the Alabama Taxpayer and Citizen Protection Act. Part 2 coming soon.
2 things you can do that is better than posting a black tile on your Instagram feed. This is Albert Wilson. Tomorrow and the day after that, he has a court date for a retrial on his case. He is currently in prison because he was wrongfully incarcerated by a racist DA, who is known for tampering with evidence and juries. Not just that though, not just that, there was no DNA evidence, there was no evidence at all, and his jury was made up of all white jury members. This is Julius Jones. He only has 122 days before he gets the lethal injection. Just like Albert, he was wrongfully incarcerated. There are so many reasons as to why they've been wrongfully incarcerated that I can't fit into 60 seconds. But if you go to my Instagram and click the link in the bio, I've got links to all of the petitions and all of the information there. And by clicking copy link, you can boost this TikTok to heaps.
Quick question. Remember that time Jesus said, "Don't protest against an oppressive government"? Huh. Me neither.
For anybody that's been out there protesting over the last couple of weeks, let me ask you guys a very serious question. You want change. You want justice. You're out there marching. You got your chants. You got your little signs. You want change. You're demanding change. Why don't you guys go to the police academy and become a cop yourself?
Because I'm too smart, they wouldn't let me join. Robert Jordan wasn't allowed to join the new London police force because he scored too high on his intelligence test. He had to take an intelligence test before joining, and he scored a 33, which is an equivalent of 125 in IQ. They only select people from 20 to 27, with an average of like a 104 IQ. I took the IQ test in 2nd grade and I got a 146. But you know, not all police departments do intelligence caps. But most police departments silence whistleblowers, so there's no point in leading by example.
For anybody that's been...
If y'all ever want to know what it's like being black, living in a white neighborhood, an all-white neighborhood, put it this way. Some lady just looked at me crazy for walking out of my own house. Like I'm gonna rob my own shit. If y'all ever want to know what it's like being black, living in a white neighborhood, an all-white neighborhood, put it this way. Some lady just looked at me crazy for walking out of my own house. Like I'm gonna rob my own shit.
Am I the only one who's noticed that the same group of people who are like Blue Lives Matter and they really come for the ACAB hashtag, they're like, what are you going to do when someone breaks in your house? Who are you going to call? You're all ACAB, but who are you going to call if somebody breaks into your house and threatens to kill you? Then who needs the police? Are they not the exact same people who, when we try and talk about gun reform, they go, no, I need a gun. Because if someone breaks into my house and tries to murder me, what am I going to do? Wait 20 minutes for the police? Or am I going to pull out my gun and shoot my shot? And they use the police being useless as a legitimate reason to fight against gun reform.
Hey guys, I love when reality bursts the Trump supporter bubble, and this time it's really delicious. Check it out.
Trump campaign is requiring the president's supporters to sign a coronavirus waiver before attending his rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Voluntarily assume all risks related to exposure to COVID-19 and agree not to hold Donald J. Trump for President Inc. be liable for any illness or injury.
Now let's go back a couple months.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. And this is their new hoax. And so far, we have lost nobody to coronavirus in the United States.
After 100,000 dead, it's obvious the Tangerine Tyrant doesn't know much, but he does know lawsuits and liability. And if you sign that waiver and go to his event, he loves you. He already said so.
I love the poorly educated.
See, in the 1930s, as part of the New Deal, FDR created loan programs to help Americans finance their homes. But to decide who got those loans, the government created color-coded maps in which green neighborhoods were good and red neighborhoods were bad. This practice became known as redlining. Because of these policies, if you lived in the green neighborhoods, it was super easy to get a home loan.
Oh, right! I can buy property!
But for folks in the red areas, no loans were available.
I can barely afford rent with this. There's no fair. The red areas are screwed.
Yeah, they were. And do you know why some areas were designated as red?
No, but I can guess.
Those were the neighborhoods where African Americans and other minorities lived, and redlining systematically prevented them from getting home loans. See?
18-year-old woman forever changed after she says a traffic stop turned horrific.
It's very sad that it's police officers that did this. I don't know. They're supposed to protect and serve, right?
Anna is present at Brooklyn Supreme Court to face the former NYPD officers, 37-year-old Eddie Martins and 32-year-old Richard Hall, who she says brutally took turns raping her after she was taken into custody for possession of drugs September 15th. Anna stopped to speak to us before heading inside, past chanting supporters to face the men accused of assaulting her and then dropping her off blocks away from the 60th precinct.
I really appreciate the support. Just imagine it was your child.
Prosecutors say DNA evidence collected from the victim at Maimonides Hospital connected Officer Martins and Hall to the crime. They were indicted on nearly 50 charges, including kidnapping and rape.
I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's greatest stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goals that you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes that he can set a timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season, Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is more bewildering than outright rejection. Martin Luther King Jr., written from a Birmingham jail in 1963.
It'd be awful if these protesters went to the Southern Poverty and the Law Center website and started doing research on hate groups. God, who knows what they'd find out. Then they know about the white nationalists that are posing as Vice reporters and interviewing protesters in D.C. and identifying them. I also hate it if they use this map that tracks hate groups in their state. I mean, if they knew about the hate groups in their state, then they could potentially research them and find out if they're coming to their protest. No, that would suck. We don't want that. No, none of that. No one should go to Southern Poverty and the Law Center. No one at all.
Because I can.
Was wearing this T-shirt with the flag of Puerto Rico on it. Apparently, that was too much for a man who approached her.
You should not be wearing that in the United States of America.
Okay.
Are you a citizen?
Yes, I am a citizen.
Are you a United States citizen?
Can you please get away from me?
Then you should not be
Can
wearing
you please get away from me?
Puerto Rico is a United States territory whose inhabitants are U.S. citizens, but this was news to 62-year-old Timothy Tribus.
Is he an American citizen? Why is he wearing that?
Irizarry repeatedly asked Officer Patrick Connor, standing a few yards away, for help.
Officer, I feel highly uncomfortable. Can you please grab him?
Are you an American citizen?
Please, officer.
But Connor stands aside and walks away. He's now been assigned to desk duty.
What do I do? Do I need to go?
No, because you don't want them to take you. You got to be here for her. Be here for her.
Where do I? Maddie. I love that bitch. She's such a...
Okay, let's see where they're going.
Question: how come nobody ever talks about how much black people don't riot? You know? I mean, all the shit they put up with every day for generations and without rioting. Meanwhile, if a bunch of white people's hockey team loses, they burn it all down. I mean, black people catch all the shit for rioting, but really, given the circumstances, they almost never do it, you know? But you can only push people so far, and apparently they draw the line at wanton public murder at the hands of the law. And I, for one, am not going to criticize that. Okay? I don't care about the looting or the methodology or any of that shit. As far as I'm concerned, the blame for the situation in Minneapolis belongs solely to the Minneapolis police. Put simply, if you don't want your town ripped apart by riots, then, to paraphrase 90s Jim Carrey, stop murdering people, assholes.